This Book, a podcast where we, Nicole and Eden, read a banned or challenged book twice a month and discuss its meaning, impact, and censorship to make it more accessible for all readers. This week's books are the graphic novels Bone by Jeff Smith, which was first published in 1991. Joining us today is Greg Soper, calling in from Provo, Utah. Greg, tell us about yourself and your connection to the book. And to
Hi.
us.
Yeah, I'm Greg. Longtime listener, especially of the recordings, because I'm Eden's husband. I live in the same house. And I've
What?
also been, everything Eden's ever said on the podcast has been whispered to her by me, like Cyrano de Bergerac. So,
Gosh, I love a Cyrano de Bergerac
all of
joke.
Eden's opinions are actually my opinions.
Yeah.
We'll have an episode one day, even on this episode.
He's
Every
just
question
chatting
has
me
been
on the background.
pre-rehearsed. Yeah.
Yeah.
So maybe we'll do one with Eden's actual Eden one day.
We'll see.
Yeah.
It's a lot of
Yeah. My connection to Bone.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I had only asked Eden if I could be a guest on this because I know you guys didn't have a guest. But in my,
Very generous.
I knew it was coming up, and I thought oh yeah, I'm interested in that because I'd read that, but it'd been a long time for me, because I read it growing up in my mid-teens, maybe early teens, but kind of forgotten how much what that was like, and kind of going back to it, it kind of helped me remember quite a bit, just a lot of feelings and sentiments of just Bone in particular, but also just my experience with books and media in general when I was that age. So yes, some of that context is that I grew up reading a lot of newspaper comics,
Mm-hmm.
Calvin and Hobbes and Far Side. We had a lot of collections of those in our house.
Right? I feel like all 90s families did.
Yeah,
We
Calvin
had
and
those
Hobbes was
calendar
pretty big.
things. Yeah, Calvin and Hobbes, especially Far Side, the calendar that had
Yeah.
I
I
feel
never
that
read
was
Far Side.
what?
Yeah, Far Side is too weird for your family, I think. It's very dark. A lot of death. But no, I'd be anytime I was bored, and there's a lot more newspapers around back then too, but if we were visiting grandparents or someone and there's a Sunday newspaper, I always go straight to the comic section. And I think my parents might have just liked those, so that's why we had a lot of collections. But then my uncle is, there's probably some influence from him too, because he's a cartoonist and he's a academic on cartoons also. He's not making anything that's being published right now, but he's, except for some academic books he's written on, one on Opus and one on the Far Side. And Opus, I think, is if you look it up, the main characters in that are a big inspiration for Bone, big noses, kind of simple white colors, or lack of colors.
Yeah.
With white. But yeah, I'd check out those comic collections from the library all the time. And there's always Sunday stuff, like Garfield or Foxtrot, but never there are more quote unquote serious comics. Some are not quote unquote, some are serious, but never read even superhero comics. I've never read those. Nothing with that strong of a narrative, mostly just the silly Sunday stuff. And I mean, there's serious stuff in Calvin and Hobbes on a maybe deep thematic level, but it's pretty simple presentation. But and I kind of knew there were more mature stuff out there. Even in Calvin and Hobbes, I remember feeling pretty disturbed when he made a strip about Calvin reading a superhero comic where it ends with the main character getting shot with some laser gun and seeing the hole in his stomach, and you can see his spine, both ends of the spine sticking into the hole, and Calvin gets disturbed by that, and I remember also feeling oh, that's gonna be in my head for a little bit. And then even I was on a plane ride once, and the kid in front of me showed me a Japanese comic he was reading that was pretty violent. And I remember being pretty disturbed by that too, because comics have that visual element. People can put a lot of work into drawing some pretty messed up stuff.
Yeah.
And I'm not like mad about it. Like I've read plenty of that kind of stuff since then, but like at the time, just like I knew that comics could be a little scary.
Yeah.
Uh,
Mhm.
but that was not the most of what I was reading. Um, and I think I first found Bone in our city library. It was the black and white volume,
Yeah.
just individual
Mhm.
volume of that first book, and I think I remember just seeing it around a bit, but like seeing the like maybe some of the later books, some of the covers are more human
Mhm.
characters, more kind of like mature looking, and not being that interested. But then I saw like the first book, and it's
Phone Bill.
uh
Cute
like
little
really, yeah,
bubbly.
really
Yeah.
accessible, and it's like this is for you, this is for this is safe, and then like kind of making that connection, like, oh, this is the same thing, interesting, huh? And then picking that up, and uh yeah, and I was just intrigued and drawn in by that, and it never actually it felt very intriguing and a little scary to like have that cute introduction, but then like have there sometimes the art style gets a bit darker or
Yeah, I
like
Mhm.
wanted to talk
yeah,
about that.
it's yeah, and that was always a scary to me because I never knew like, is this gonna be like a scary comic? Like, will this make me feel the
Yeah.
way those other scary things did? And it never gets that bad, but like just it's not just Sunday comics stuff.
No.
It's
Yeah.
The
there's darker stuff too.
transition between style was really extreme for me because at first it's
Yeah.
just these,
Mhm.
like, really round, like,
Yeah,
characters
yeah.
that are, like, kind of a
It's
variation on
supposedly
Snoopy.
bones.
Yeah, that they're all bones. They're all
Yeah,
kind
they
of
never
a bone
the
name, and they're all kind of dogs, but kind of not, but kind of ghosts, but kind of Snoopy, Mickey Mouse, like
yeah,
a very
yeah.
Yeah.
old school, friendly,
Yeah.
Yep,
generous cartoon, and then it
very
goes into, like, this
generous.
yeah,
That's what I think of
generous.
when I look at them. Oh, how generous.
Generous to my sensitivity, but
Yeah.
but then it, like, transitions when you start meeting, like, the human characters and the creatures in the forest, it, like, transitions
Yeah.
to that more I don't know what that style would be called, but it reminds me of the '90s, but
Yeah.
it's very
Yeah.
realistic, and it feels like
Uh-huh. I mean,
it's yeah, I
the
don't
humans are
know.
still cartoony, like, it's not
Mhm.
photorealistic at all, but especially,
Right,
like, when
that's
there's,
true.
like, anything kinda scary, like the locust or rat creatures, like, it gets really deep blacks all of a
Mhm.
sudden and,
Yeah.
like, uh,
Yeah. Before we get
glowing
any
eyes.
deeper,
Yeah.
Greg, could you give us like a quick synopsis
Yeah.
or premise of
Yeah.
we read just the first book,
Mhm.
which is Out from Boneville, which
Mhm.
Yep.
I live in the Bonneville, what is it? Like Bonneville,
Bonneville.
the
Area
Bonneville area,
in Utah
remnants of the Bonneville Lake
Yeah.
with
from
that
prehistoric times.
from prehistoric times. So when I first read
I don't
that,
know
it
why I
said
laughed because
I
it's
was
true.
like, out from Bonneville.
Yeah, I had the same experience. I
I
think when
should
I
not
first read that, like, I knew that was, like, a place, and like, is there a connection here? And I don't think there is. They're just called
Yeah, no,
bones.
no.
it's just Boneville.
I didn't see that connection at
Yeah.
all, and I work for Boncom of
Yeah.
Bonneville Communications. So I didn't see I like, that didn't even phase me at all, so you guys are blowing my mind right now.
Bon Comics, Bone Comics. Just
Out from Bon
it's
Comicsville?
all
Yeah.
connected.
I wrote up a little premise. I'm just gonna read it straight.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay.
Okay. The simply drawn, uh, white-colored Sunday comic-y big-nosed bone cousins, Phone Bone, Smiley Bone, and Phony Bone, become terribly lost after being run out of Boneville. They become separated in the desert, but each independently makes their way across the mountains into a fantastical valley, where they become embroiled in a Lord of the Rings-esque epic fantasy saga. The story primarily follows Phone Bone as he makes friends, gets a major crush, evades monsters, meets a mysterious smoking dragon, and learns just how central he and the other bones are to the prophecy unfolding in the valley.
Gets a major crush.
Yeah.
It's true.
Uh,
That was a great premise.
Thank you.
Great premise.
Oh, that's Jeff Smith.
It's
So,
just
all
Oh, it's
him.
just Smith.
All
okay.
him.
Eden, what did you think of it? Because was this your first time reading it, or yeah, what was your journey with this? Especially knowing your husband has loved it.
Yeah. So we own the whole complete series, which is like probably half a foot
It's
big.
down here.
Oh,
I
it's
have it.
down. Greg has it. Um,
But
it's
for
like half
audio
of
listeners,
yeah, it's like 6 inches, probably 4 inches
Okay.
thick. But yeah, I've always seen it. I've never read it. And then
She's always seen it.
I've always seen it.
It's never out of her mind.
It follows me everywhere I go.
But you were never tempted.
But I only picked it up for this podcast. But when after I found out that it was I feel like I'm like a purist in this way, but like after I found out that it was only written and drawn in black and white, I'm like, we need to toss this color one out. We need to get the original black and white. Like, and it was only colorized for to be appealing to the, like, Scholastic took it and colorized it and everything. But I thought it was really interesting. I also thought that transition from like the cute little bones into the more detailed human figures was really interesting. And my favorite part of the first book was when winter came and like winter just like came down as a blanket and just like plopped itself on everything. And I just like stared at that page for a while because at first I didn't know what was happening. And I was like, wait, is there like a UFO? And like, oh, that's snow falling on everyone.
Yeah.
I started to read the second book and then Mabel saw me reading it. So she sat in my lap and I started reading it out loud to her. So she's not very patient. So she's been like flipping through to the back of the book and I'm like, I don't want spoilers. So I'll just like leave the room because she just wants to look at the pictures.
Yeah.
But for a couple of nights we would just like sit down. She's been staying up later, so we would sit down in between her original bedtime to her new bedtime and I'd read a bit to her.
That's
cute. You pulled out a lot of voices for the characters.
A lot of good voices.
I would kill to know what voices you did for Thorn and for the grandma.
Oh, Thorn, because Thorn and Phonebone were in it a lot. I just use my normal voice for them.
Oh my gosh.
Thorn, she does very seductive sounding.
Oh no, I don't.
No, she doesn't.
That was also what was interesting to me was the childlike nature of the animation, the cartoon. I don't even know the right language to use in talking about a comic book, but the first half of the book was like, all the bone, phone bone and bone. Doing such a bad job. Even the dragon was still very like kind of childlike. Reminded me of like the movie Thumbelina, if you remember that from the 90s. Yeah. And then it transitioned and we have like kind of a sexy human woman named Thorn who we're first meeting her when she's like swimming and she's got like these like very perky breasts and
taking her pants off.
Yeah,
like with her cloak on. Well,
yeah.
It was
really
she's going to come up a lot in the band discussion.
Transition. Yeah. But that was fascinating. And then the creatures started getting more and more realistic, still being, like Greg said, still being very animated. So like it felt like so many different styles were in one book. And that was kind of shocking for me, but very fun. I didn't think I would like that, but I really liked it. It added a lot of texture for me.
And he maintains that too. Like the bones themselves never become more realistic. They're still cartoon characters, but they like live in this world and they suffer. Like if they get hurt, they'll be hurt. They're not cartoon characters that way, but they are weird little. I don't know what they are. They're bones.
They're bones.
Yeah.
Are they?
It's never explained. I think if you look at them, like,
is
femur,
obviously a femur.
What?
Or something.
No,
it's like I mean like cartoon bone and like the two knobs, but one knob is much bigger than the other knob, and the other knob is the nose.
Oh my gosh, you guys are
I think that's why they're called bones, but they're not actually bones at all.
Oh my gosh.
They just look a little bit like one.
Something that was also interesting about the beginning was like, so we're introduced to three bone people. I don't know. What is the word? Cousins.
They're
bone cousins. And they're like lost in the wilderness and there's like kind of a mafia vibe. It also reminded me of the movie All Dogs Go to Heaven, where like the dogs are like smoking cigars and are like really harsh and talking.
Well, you're pulling out all of the. Dang it! What's the animator's name?
What's that guy's name? Yeah.
Don
Don
Bluth.
Don Bluth, yeah, it had such Don
Yeah.
Bluth energy where there was, like,
Well,
darkness there, but also really soft curves. But, like, these were, like, very adult bones who were really awful, and then
yeah, Phony Bone is a, like,
yeah!
terrible guy.
Yeah,
Mhm.
Really terrible
super
guy.
bad. Like, the cigar really got me. I was like, "Okay, we've got these mobster bones who are, like, mad that they got kicked out of their town because they were scamming everyone." Um, and then it goes
I
into
It was
the
think
just
medieval
Phony
thing.
Bone.
There's so much.
Smiley and Phone just
But
got wrapped up in it.
they were wrapped up in it. They were still
Yeah.
hanging out.
I think Smiley has less reservations. I
Yeah.
think he's just
Mm.
happy to hang out. But yeah, Don Bluth's an interesting comparison because he's a lifelong bachelor Mormon animator obsessive who draws a lot of like very childlike stuff, but also will inject lots of like very beautiful kind of pin-up women into,
Yeah.
into his stuff, which is very interesting.
It's
I
Like
wonder,
very interesting.
it's
is
like
that
for kids, but there's like this more adult undercurrent.
There's that
It's never like pure
intersection.
innuendo. It's just like yeah, and they're doing adult stuff. Like
There's, like, a
it's not
seedy element to the
yeah,
cuteness. Yeah.
yeah. That's
is that
interesting.
like more common, or it just could be that we're just talking about these comics now and Don Bluth is coming up. But Greg, you were looking up the animator for Lilo and Stitch because you really liked like how cute and fun
Oh yeah, that
the art style was
yeah.
in Lilo and Stitch, and then realized that his current stuff.
Oh, like outside. I don't know if he works for Disney anymore, and I don't think he's like disgraced or anything. He's just doing different
Just
stuff.
in
But
his free
like
time.
he,
Just
all of his own personal work is very like uh, you can. It's just like beautiful pinup women, and
yeah.
and it's still like you can tell it's him. You can tell it's like the same guy, but it's like yeah,
Like
it's just weird
Lilo and
artists
Stitch
that like just
style pinup
they
women.
think yeah, yeah,
That intersection is very fascinating. It's that, like,
yeah. It's
there's something with
strange.
furries that also come to mind,
Uh
and
huh.
Mhm.
where it's just like, I don't know, there's a sexual element, but it's not.
Maybe it's
I don't know,
yeah,
it's
just
very
artists that draw
fascinating.
enough figure drawing classes and like, actually, I like this. I think this is my thing. I don't feel that way about Bone per se. Like maybe Don Bluth, maybe Lilo and Stitch guy, but like I I think Bone is trying to. It's more than that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like we'll talk plenty about Thorn, and she doesn't. She's more than just a pinup model. Also, like in the whole first book, she's wearing a big baggy ratty cloak the whole time.
Yeah.
Right.
It's not like that.
Yeah, that's true. It's not so overt.
No.
Yeah.
Um.
And
That
it
is
Yeah.
really
fascinating.
feels like childlike crush
Oh,
between Phonebone
totally.
and Thorn. Like all the little cute pink hearts that come floating
Mhm.
out and like
Well, always from him. I
revolving.
don't think
Oh
she feels
yeah,
that way about him.
she doesn't.
No.
Always from him. The moment he sees her, it's just like little hearts. And it's like, oh, this is really cute. This is
Yeah.
so sweet.
But they
Yeah.
also go out of their way to like make lots of like the first time he sees her is when she's taking pants
Yeah.
off, cloak
Uh-huh.
still covering her. He wasn't trying to spy, but he's also like there's a bone gaze throughout
A bone case.
it.
Ew, I hate that.
Like it is a childlike innocent thing, and I think that's like a
Yeah.
theme throughout the whole thing. It is like this growing
Yeah.
up maturation thing with that art, especially with the art style change.
Yeah.
Um, but like they also have her later like inviting her to bathe with him like off screen, and it's not a romantic thing at all for her. It's
No.
just like a he's clearly uncomfortable with it, but like yeah, she is not necessarily like a sexual character
No.
hmm
in it. Um, but also there's a bone case, and like they have her cloak slipping a lot, especially while running. Never
Yeah.
never pornographic, but it's like oh, huh,
Yeah.
Just a little shoulder
interesting.
here or
Yeah,
there.
shoulder or uh,
Guy.
décolletage.
Yeah.
Yeah.
um, yeah, when I was reading about Bone, I was surprised to find out that it was all self-published and
Yeah, that was
self-drawn
wild.
and all of
Mhm.
that. And when I was talking to Greg about it, he said something interesting where he said it was very obvious that it was self-published and like self-drawn. And I was
Well,
Really?
really And I was like, what made it obvious? Like, none of that was obvious to me as, like,
No.
a newer comics reader.
Well, it wasn't necessarily obvious that it was self-published, like, in terms of production quality. More just like that it's clear that this was just like a passion project from a guy who um really liked, like, I could see growing up reading a lot of Calvin and Hobbes and all those other Sunday comics, like especially in the first few chapters of the first book, there's a lot of very Calvin and Hobbes looking poses and faces and
Mhm.
things. Like it looks like what I really meant to say was like it's clear that this is just like a passion kind of fan project. Like it's a little bit
I
Calvin
see.
and Hobbes fan art.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Um,
Interesting.
but it moves past that. But like that was probably the first stuff he wrote, first uh, work he's really
Yeah.
putting into it. But if he was working for a bigger publishing, I don't think like a bigger publisher would have gone for this either. That nerdiness and that shift of the childlike stuff plus the
Mhm.
mature stuff is pretty not traditional.
Yeah, I was listening to an interview with Jeff Smith, and he was explaining that he was really inspired by Art Spiegelman, by Mouse, by the idea
Mm,
of having a beginning, middle, and end in comic form, and how he was
mm,
pitching that to people. And because he was working in various studios and things like that, and everyone was like, that's not what we're doing. Like, if that was
mhm.
revolutionary. And so that's why he chose to go the self publishing route, because he felt like he could explore this like more narrative novel kind of structure with
Mm.
more freedom. And he was also explained that like all of the drawings, well, the bones, I can't do that. They are, I don't know why, but they were originally drawn by him when he was in elementary school and middle school.
Oh,
Like these were like
fun.
old drawings that he just kept. He just created these characters based off of Mickey Mouse and
Mm,
Snoopy. And he created these characters, and they just kind of followed him throughout his life. And when he was taking art classes in high school, he was like, "I want to go and work for Disney. Like that's my dream." And his art teacher was like, "No, you don't." And at first, he was like, really offended. Then he realized, and he used the example of Tim Burton, that Disney would be too restrictive. That Tim Burton worked for Disney for a while, but he wasn't allowed to do what he wanted to do out until he left those gates. And so yeah, Jeff Smith claims that that was like the best advice ever. And it's wild that that conviction carried him through self-publishing, all of the like, and kind of changing, from what I understand, Greg, that he kind of changed the game in terms of how comics were viewed by fans,
mm.
like that it is a narrative structure and you can do a full story and you can create without the limits of the big studios, and that you will have
Yeah.
fans, like, because I think he published like 40 different editions within 10 years of this, which is
Whoa.
also wild. That's a
Yeah.
lot.
Editions
Yeah.
or the issues?
Editions. Like
Ah.
he did different
Wow.
iterations. Well, because he's self-publishing, so I guess every time he'd send a new batch to the publisher, that'd be a new edition. you
Oh,
know,
okay.
because so I don't know how much was
Uh-huh.
on that first edition. It was like 10. Um, I don't know, but that's also kind of how Persepolis was made too. Was she was just making it for her friends, and then it blew up, and
Mhm.
that's also narrative arc. It's interesting. I'm curious when the studio started getting behind it and was like, "Oh, we do want narrative."
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, we still have yeah, lots of different versions of that. And like it's like there's still Sunday comics, there's still superhero comics, which I guess are narrative, but they're way different incentives.
Yeah,
They need their stories to never end, and that's why
yeah.
the Marvel Cinematic Universe is so bad. But
And his
uh,
comics are also
but
frozen in time too. Like
yeah,
Calvin doesn't
yeah,
really
Mhm.
get older. He's
no,
Mhm.
constantly, yeah.
yeah.
And
So
Hobbs doesn't.
I it's
Simpson,
interesting that like the bones matched
Asperger's.
his own growing up, but also like artistic desires. Like
Mhm.
I want these they probably will never age. I'm not sure how how that works, but like he
Yeah.
also wanted to make a epic Lord of the Rings story
Yeah.
Mhm.
with these guys.
Which is so
Someone
funny.
that someone that will like let their whole artistic voice they'll carry it with them wherever they go, or
So
just pieces
cute.
of it.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, interesting.
What other things are in
I
your
like
notes,
that.
Greg?
Um, the well, yeah, one thing was that like there's it's that it's interesting how this is inviting to younger readers,
Mm-hmm.
but this is probably true of lots of challenge books, but it's especially for stuff for young adults, like explicitly for young adults, but it it doesn't feel like it talks down to young readers at all.
Mm-mm. Mm-mm.
Uh, like it's treating them like by having the characters doing adult things, being young adults and adults getting in dangerous situations that they are scared of, and it's not heroic or uh, scheming or falling in love, unreciprocated, just complex stuff like that tends to. I feel like those stories are what young kids want and the ones that most often get challenged.
Yeah.
Uh, the like people want to young adults and kids want to feel respected and like their media
Mhm.
takes them seriously.
Yeah.
Um, Even though this is a pretty silly story, it's the things it's dealing with. Like I said, I felt kind of scared that this is this safe for me? We'll
Yeah.
see. Um,
Well, and the themes like Bone, guys, Bone is dealing with his like loyalty to
mhm,
phony Bone,
Mhm.
and
mhm,
also dealing with his own convictions of what's right or wrong. And so he's dealing with like there's like a huge internal battle of who he should
mhm.
align himself with that I
Yeah,
found really profound and very like also quite subtle. It wasn't like
yeah,
screaming at me.
Mhm.
I love that.
yeah. Well, and then Phony Bone, like he is a cartoonishly greedy
Yeah.
little villain man, but it also turns into what the effects of his total selfishness has on the people around him, and also maybe a deal with the devil, and he is in mortal, terrible danger
Mhm.
that through things because he just cannot not be greedy. And like taking it,
Yeah.
going to like kind of scary places with that. It's kind of interesting.
Yeah.
Um, and I yeah. Oh, and it's also like I love the feelings of like the sense of history you get with like the grandma knowing the dragon, and
Mhm.
this like story before you, and like I don't even remember how much you end up learning about that, but uh, uh this sense that these bones are not, and none of the people we're meeting are like there's a lot of world outside of what we're seeing here, and that just
Mhm.
feeling kind of exciting at that age of like just teases. That's something I've always loved. Just tease me and don't tell me anymore. Just
Yeah.
let me feel the bigness of it, but you
Yeah.
don't have to talk about all of it.
Yeah. You can allow the
Um,
mystery to survive. I found
yeah,
that too when
yes,
Phony Bone when there's talk of like a prophecy about one of
hmm
these bones doing something and at first you're like it's Phony Bone and then you realize I might not actually know who this is about. There might be like an
hmm
aspirational that was really it was very Lord of the Ringsy where there's prophecies, you're being stopped like jumped you're being shot into like just one part of this really long history like you were saying,
hmm
Mhm.
and I loved that. It's fun,
yeah,
Yeah.
kooky.
yeah, very fun.
Yeah, one little spoiler that I read for myself,
Oh,
I know.
Are you gonna spoil the listeners?
well, we're
Well,
already spoiling them by being here.
Okay,
yeah, we're already
okay.
spoiling stuff. Um, is that you never actually see Boneville. You never return to Boneville. And so they like going back to your point of just not describing everything, like Jeff Smith very respectfully to to the reader, just never developed that area. So you know that there is more to this space than what is in the books.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and I remember being fascinated by all the hints of like it sounds like it's just our world, but
Yes.
like very modern. Uh, but they're bones.
Hmm.
Like, is that?
Yeah.
It's our world, but we look like little white bone creatures.
Uh-huh.
I was
And
picturing,
then,
in Back to the Future 2, when Biff is like
Uh-huh.
the president of the world or whatever. That's what I was picturing, that kind of environment where there's like tons of casinos and like there's a lot of weird flames for some reason. Like I just pictured like a chaotic, materialistic, consumer driven like all the evils of capitalism are on
uh huh,
display. And I thought it was interesting that Phone Bone he reminded me of Al Capone, and I was like, is there a thing with the names? Are they similar? It was very old mobster movie because there's like the smart evil guy, and then there's the dumb sidekick, and then there's the one that's going through the moral crisis. of like the three main gangster guys. They have to decide what they're doing. And I just love that because it was so modern, so 20th century energy. And then we go into medieval times with Thorn.
Yeah.
And her name is Thorn. Like there was so much
And
where I was like,
her grandma's name, Grandma Ben.
yeah, all of that was like, it's what
It's
are
very
dates?
90s
It's very
fantasy too.
90s
I don't know
fantasy.
why.
I was trying to say, like,
I don't know what I'm
it's
comparing that to.
1500.
Yeah. But like a kind of fairy looking beautiful fantasy woman named Thorn. I don't know what I'm comparing that to, but it does feel very 90s.
It feels so 90s.
I really desperately want to find out what that 90s thing is that
Like
makes
Jessica
me feel
Rabbit,
that.
kind of.
No,
but like less sexy.
But like specifically fantasy. Like there's an 80s 90s brand.
Yeah,
of,
there's like a
fantasy cartoon that we must have been exposed to or something.
It was all in our dreams.
It
Well, it's
had
very
to have
Don
been
Bluth.
tied to some toy line
Yes.
marketing, Saturday
Yes.
morning something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There was a lot of medieval. Yeah, I don't know. But that was fascinating. The other thing that was interesting to me is how much of a fan favorite Jeff Smith is. And it was confusing because people are obsessed with him. Like he makes most of his money through like Comic-Cons and other like things like that because like his fans love him. But it was really hard to access his book. Like I couldn't buy it anywhere. It was really hard to find.
You couldn't buy it?
I looked on so many different places and it wasn't available. And then also the library, it's constantly being borrowed. So I started it, didn't finish it because I was like, oh, I can renew. Could not renew for many months. And because other people were borrowing it. So it's like very popular, but also there's like a scarcity element. For me, it was
interesting.
Yeah, it was really fun. Even going to his website was fascinating because there's like a whole universe that he's created, but it's also very like you have to be in the know in order to access it, kind of. But I don't think he's an exclusive. Like I don't think he like thrives off of exclusion. I think that's just the nature of the business right now or what's going on. And I know he had a heart attack and he had to cancel a lot of his events, and that really derailed all of his business plans over the last couple of years. But like. It's a really interesting culture because it doesn't feel as accessible as Marvel, but it feels more important to people. Like seriously, I couldn't believe that my library, I had such a hard time trying to get the book back from all the children that were reading it.
Yeah.
You assume or other podcast hosts.
Yeah.
Greg, where did you get this copy?
Yeah, where did you buy it?
I think we got it online. I think I got it for my birthday a couple years ago, and I just haven't gone back to it.
Oh my gosh!
I don't know what spurred me to ask for that, but yeah, it must have been on. Don't cancel me for this, but probably on Amazon.
Canceled. Get off.
Okay. Marker. Edit it.
Cut it out. Cut it out,
it's
Nicole.
Okay. You didn't know. You didn't know. Okay, so you can get it off of thrift books and off Amazon and then used in a lot of places. The complete set is like $120 on Amazon.
I think we got it cheaper. I think it must have gone up.
Yeah. It's like, so there's something going on there. You can get it used at a lot of places, but to get the full thing, it's over $120.
Maybe with all the different editions, it's like a trading card collector's.
I think so. I think the original black and white edition, seriously, is very, very, very cool. And I don't think I understood any of that. So that's probably why I was having a hard time buying
Interesting.
it. I was
Maybe that was his plan all along.
This was always his
make
plan.
Bank off of all the editions and trading of it.
Gosh, have you guys listened to him talk about his life and who he is? He is
not really. I tried to look for that cartoonist. Oh, he looks like a sweet guy.
He's
like his picture on Wikipedia, just like, oh.
I know. I honestly think we could get him on this podcast. I think he'd be down. I need to reach out to him because he's tender. The way he talks to people is just like he's just excited to talk about bone. He's just.
All right, do you wanna stop recording and cancel me and get him on?
Yes.
if you can get him so easily, like you say.
I think it's so easy to get him. No. No, but I do think in the future I would love to invite him on, and the three of us could have a little chit chat with him, ask our little questions.
That'd be fun. Speaking of scarcity, I tried my hardest to look for that cartoonist show.
Yeah.
The documentary. Yeah. Could not find it because it's not available on my Canopy.
Oh my gosh. See, this is what I'm
Yeah.
talking about. There's something like where, and I don't know if it's just the nature of self-publishing where you can only have things available for certain, like the cost
Mhm.
might cancel out. But yeah, I had to find it on Canopy. It said it was on Amazon and all these things, and it wasn't. But I watched it on Canopy. There's this documentary called The Cartoonist, and it is really beautiful and tender, just about Jeff Smith's journey making cartoons. And
Yeah.
and his wife is so cute. She like helps him. I don't know. The whole thing was very cute. His community is really
I think,
lovely.
yeah, I think she was a big part of his self-publishing.
Yeah,
Mhm.
she managed like all of the business aspect of it so he could do the
Uh-huh.
creative stuff. And they still are partners in that. And it's just like, which is also scary when he had his heart attack because both of them were kind of out of work until he was able to heal, if he was going to
Yeah.
heal. So, yeah, it's very much like a grassroots effort and it has paid off because he's built such a huge community around it. But yeah, Eden, the
Yeah.
scarcity thing is real with Jeff Smith. I don't know why.
Interesting.
I'm looking at his website now. One other thing I was gonna say
Yeah.
is the just another wrinkle in the cute and silly versus scary is that I also love that even those scary rat creatures, that the main ones we get to spend time with are incredibly petty and silly
Uh-huh.
and talk a lot about quiche and
Yeah.
how,
It
What they're
reminds
gonna
how
me of
eat.
the
one is offended
hyenas in
how the other
Lion
one called him
King.
fat.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's pretty cute.
It's
Uh,
pretty cute.
and when they're not being scary, they're actually just kind of funny, cute little uh,
Yeah,
monsters.
Uh-huh.
yeah. They're just little guys who
Just
Yeah,
little guys.
clearly have a
they're just
leader and
hungry.
are working, doing their work, and I don't quite know what their work
I
is.
remember the leader is scary to me. Like, it looks very strange. The long legs, tiny
Yeah,
arms, bent
yeah,
over.
yeah. Very
Weird
creepy,
design. Yeah,
Mhm.
it's good.
Mhm.
but very 90s for some reason. I don't know. I don't
Mm,
know.
we'll find
Um,
out what that means one day.
we we'll never know. We'll never know. We're too in it. We're too
Mm.
deep in it.
Yeah, we are products of it.
Yeah. Um,
Yeah, we're all 90s babies.
Eden, can you give us some clarification on the banning experience?
But do we need to talk about it?
We need to
Yeah,
talk
what
about
are
it.
some
Oh
of
no,
everyone's
the
guesses?
experience, the
The
process. Sorry.
experience?
I don't know. I just said words, and you guys are doing so good and trying to take everything so literally that I'm saying, and I am just kind of saying stuff. So I apologize. Why do we think it's banned? I think it's because there's
Mine
a sexy
is thorn.
lady.
Yeah. My guess is
Probably.
thorn.
I think that because I think any comic, any visual thing, like I know like Mouse, there's like, oh, there's a naked guy in it, and parents can see it over the shoulders
Yeah,
of the
Yeah.
kids, and
A naked guy
same
in a
with
gas
this.
chambers.
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah. I mean, this one I see more of the like parents being worried because it's like they're trying to make my kids excited about a naked person. And like this one more than Mouse. It's like okay,
yeah,
maybe more than Mouse,
yeah.
more than
Yeah.
a story
I
about the Holocaust.
I
Pretty low
also
bar.
think phone bone is bad. Phony bone. Gosh, I'm never gonna get that. And I think that he isn't nice. And I could totally see parents being like,
Yeah,
no.
I think so too.
And the reason why I wasn't allowed to watch The Simpsons growing up was because my mom just didn't like the animation. Like there was no
Hmm.
moral
Oh,
thing. My mom was just like, ew, I hate what that looks like. And so I wonder
Yeah.
if that's also the case, is like parents are like, ew, that's not cute.
Yeah.
it's
And
just taste, not to their tastes.
I kind of think, and then they create a moral argument out of that. Like I finally got my mom to watch The Simpsons and she's like, oh, this is cute. Um, but she just couldn't get to the animation.
Yeah,
And I really
Well,
think that's real.
yeah,
totally. Greg and I were
probably.
talking about, Greg said something interesting while we were talking about this
Mm-hmm.
before we were recording about how, at least the adults in his life growing up, and my life too, the only time they ever interacted with us about the media that we were consuming was if they had a moral thing to say about it. And it was
Interesting.
never in a way of like engaging with my child. So like,
Yeah.
oh, cool. What are you reading about? Let's talk about it. Instead, it's like typically passing judgment, whether explicit or not. Um, and I thought that was really interesting, and how definitely you can pass a moral judgment on a visual thing more than
Totally.
written thing. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's well, I remember feeling pretty nervous about that. Like reading it originally, like I think it was the like that kind of experience. Like I I had a sense very quickly reading it. Like here's what I'll say if an adult questions me reading this, and like specific panels, like kind of come up with a script uh,
Yeah.
of yeah. It's like
Your
the
defense
oh
argument.
no, look, it's
Yeah.
not. It's a like there's definitely like those panels of Thorn of like, oh, she's kind of attractive. I can't let them see that that's in here. But also with that, like the title bone just becoming like, I know like that boner is a word, and like will they think that that's what that this is pornography or something? And like I need to be
Yeah.
careful.
That
Uh,
paranoia as a kid is very real, which is weird because I never felt
okay,
that
you have that
watching
too.
Johnny Bravo or Dexter's Lab or anything, and I would say Johnny Bravo was way more, or even like Bugs Bunny, like the way they objectified
Uh-huh.
women was wild. There we go. And but yeah, I could totally, because I felt that when I read Twilight, I was just so nervous about what someone would notice about me reading it, like what they would say and what I would have to say back of like why I'm reading it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, the experience of like
Yeah.
what does that make them think about me, or
Yeah.
what do I have to
Yeah.
yeah, well I want to read this, and how do I get them to let me keep reading it if they decide to not let me read it?
Yeah.
I wasn't allowed to watch The Office growing up. And then I found out some kids at church watched it with their family weekly. And so I brought that home to my parents. I was like, hey, like the Woodards watch this every week.
The Woodards
And
call 'em out.
so and so we turn on the TV, like we're like, let's sit down, let's watch it together. Like this can be a family event. We sit down, and it's the episode where Meredith flashes the camera because they're going, yeah, she forgot her swimsuit, and they were going on a retreat. And I remember just sitting there like, I will never watch this. Like this is, I just like, surrendered. It's like, all right, this would that was a good effort, Eden, but yeah,
That didn't
I'll
work
have to
out.
leave the house before I watch this again.
And isn't it true that like the only time your parents or my parents would walk into a room is when it's like the most like inappropriate moment on TV?
Uh-huh.
Like the one time they like swore or something, my parents would be like walking and they'd
Mhm.
be like, "Really?" And I feel like that with books, like the one time you turn to the page with Sword is when your
Yeah.
mom's gonna walk in and be like, "What are you reading?"
Yep.
Well, and it's like yeah, none of the stuff with Thorn is it does any of it seem like that bad to you guys?
No.
Because I'm curious.
Mm-mm.
I do think
Yeah,
the way she's drawn is very like unnecessarily like sexy in that kind of
sure,
fantasy way that I'm like, she
sure,
doesn't need to have such perky
sure,
breasts. She doesn't need to have such
sure.
beautiful perfect legs. Like that's
Yeah.
unnecessary. But yeah, but
Yeah,
other
yeah.
than that, like, but that's just my own critique.
Yeah,
Uh-huh.
that's like just the design of her
Yeah.
character. Yeah, and especially when everyone else is so cartoony and comic
Yeah.
booky. Even her
Mhm.
grandma is
Even
like,
her grandma, just like her chin jutted out,
yeah, just
no
looks like,
teeth.
Yeah.
I
but
race cows.
I guess you could say she's a cartoon beautiful woman. I guess is
Yeah.
the maybe, but no, I get it. Yeah, but it's like the that is a thing of like this this book is very like kind of seems like prime positioned in the perfect way to like make a parent who sees it in any of those pages be like, who is my child becoming, like
Yeah.
what is going on, what is changing in them, and
Yeah.
like just like all this stuff that like, okay, they're not just they're like a bone, they're not a static creature now, and they're growing up like these characters might be, and
Yeah.
what's happening, and
Yeah.
that's yeah, and I wonder, well, and it's another thing I'm curious about, and I is that like does the book feel like wolf in sheep's clothing? Maybe like YA stuff often can feel of like
Yeah.
when you see the cover, you're like, okay, it's a safe thing, and then the parent will see that page and like, ah, like they're trying to trick them. It's
Yeah.
not just like they're
Yeah. Bait and
it's not
switch.
just my kid found a thing that's clearly bad. It's like this was someone trying to corrupt my child.
Yes. I think that that is a huge point, and I think that like what people hear about things, I'm curious if like one parent saw it and then told other people about it. Like, did you guys watch the most recent Abbott Element? Not most recent. 2 episodes ago, Abbott Elementary
Mhm.
about book banning.
I have
Yeah.
not.
They did like a Harry
It was
Potter.
like
It
the
was like
best case scenario.
it
I
was
don't think
best case
any
scenario. No. But like there's a parent who was upset about this like magic boy book because she's Christian. And
Hmm.
she like, so I think people could even turn, like, I could even see a Christian argument for Bone of like, well, I'm Christian, we don't read about monsters and bad people doing bad things. And
Mm-hmm.
like I could totally see that. Or like even the magic, I'm sure is a reason why it's been banned. The dragon talking and stuff like that. I just feel like that's a little too magical
Mm-hmm.
for the
Well,
people that are going to
you.
get mad.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I feel like it's still going to be Thorn above any of the other reasons. Is my guess.
Surprise! It is not Thorn.
Really?
It is not.
You'd
So
think
in
it was.
2010,
We've learned our
you
lesson.
think?
It's always
Yep.
magic.
Yeah.
It's always imagination that they hate.
You
Actually, not imagination either.
No, what is it?
It is
self-published.
Entrepreneurship.
Says very much about the business model.
It's giving children hope that they can be whatever they want when they grow up.
In the creative space.
Yes.
So they can escape
That you
capitalism.
can make money in the arts.
You
No,
can be
it's
successful in the arts.
there are references in the work to smoking, drinking, and gambling.
Oh, I was gonna say that. Smiley. Yeah, like first page, big cigar.
Big cigar. And like how Phonebone tries to track them down when they got separated was the cigar butts.
Oh,
And then-
that's the Don Bluth energy that I'm saying. There's like a weird adulty thing that is
Mm-hmm.
that's
And
fascinating.
then like yeah, I started the second book with Mabel, and they do start betting on the cows and trying to fix a bet.
yeah.
Trying to
yeah, that was alluded to at the end of this
mhm.
one that they were going to do that.
Yeah, because Grandma Ben supposedly races cows, as in she is running in the race against cows.
Mhm.
And
Yeah.
so she wins every year. So Phonebone decides, oh no, Phonebone decides to sow seeds of doubt in everyone's minds that maybe Grandma Ben doesn't look so good today. And then fix the bets, you know?
Mhm.
Yeah.
There's a big gambling thing.
Yeah, let's just be honest. I think it should be banned because of the cigar butts and the
Yeah.
gambling.
Well, it's like, what about any of them makes smoking or gambling look like they're punished constantly?
Yeah.
Also, let's be
They're
real.
not-
Like run out of town. Yeah.
The 90s made, I think that's when smoking really hit heights, and like that whole conversation about like, are you allowed to smoke indoors and all that kind
yeah.
of stuff was also
Mhm.
happening. So I feel like that's when it became more of a moral thing instead of just a habit.
Yeah.
A moral conversation about purity and things like that.
Especially
and so,
like a lot of PSAs and
Mhm.
animated anti-smoking campaigns for kids and stuff in the 80s and 90s.
So I'm curious if that also influenced it. Eden, what year was it first challenged or banned?
2010.
Oh, so way
2010?
after the 90s.
Yeah.
So throw all that out.
Yep.
Okay,
Throw it all out. This is
I cannot
I'm-
believe it's not Thorn.
I'm yeah. I'm surprised
Sweet
it's not Thorn
Greg.
either.
Sweet Greg. Well, you have to learn something. If the woman was the main
you were
character,
wrong too. It's not the magic. It's the smoking.
Sweet Greg. Sweet Greg. Yeah, we were all wrong. But it is like,
see,
I think if
there
Thorn
are
was the
other
main character,
challenges and
it would have been
controversy.
banned because of her. I really think that. But because she's not the main
Yeah.
character, I don't think that they.
Oh, because a side character,
Yeah,
a side piece.
a side
Maybe just 'cause
piece, and she
she's-
has to be hot if she's worth it. Like Jessica Rabbit.
Yeah. We're going to find out. If we got back to Boneville, we'd find out that Phonebone has a big family with a lot of responsibilities. He's been very bad this whole time.
This is his say.
Yeah.
Yeah. But also, they'd probably be fine with
in-
that too, because men have to do what they have to do.
Yeah, it's the classic Odysseus
It's
situation.
classic.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's classic. Whereas she can't get
Um,
remarried.
No.
Other challenges and controversies cite racism and political viewpoint.
Racism.
On the and that was in 2013.
What? Maybe I need to read the full series.
Is
but-
it because they're...
White?
Okay. We'll have to look at that. Yeah, I'll
It's
need
because
to...
they're bones.
Well,
The
is
whole
it
bone
like...
race.
Yeah, I don't... Yeah. There's like a... It's just frustrating to see like Well, when you see, it's easy to pick up on the patterns of like more conservative people challenging books, but then also the like pretty dumb reasons that more liberal people might challenge stuff. I like unless this is racism against white bones, like that they're maybe they're standing for white people. Just that like if a character is a bad person in a piece of media, that means this that it's endorsement or
Yeah.
like it's going to make people like, oh no, this we
Yeah.
can't have this in here. This is
Yeah. It's the
just
Huckleberry Finn conversation.
mm,
Yeah.
Mhm.
Each
yeah.
side does it for whatever reason. I
Hmm.
I understand though, I haven't read the full series, so I could be wrong, but I read somewhere that that there's the book is very allegorical about hate and about hating certain demographics, that like I think
Mm,
it said something about the monsters represented different aspects of hate, whether it's like racism, bigotry, and all these other things.
mm.
um but I haven't read the full series, so that could have just been someone like reading way too into it. But that could be also why, like, maybe, do you know what they've said about racism, Eden? If they're against it
No.
or they're for it?
we'll have to we'll have to put that out on the fan subreddit when we
Yeah.
find it eventually.
Yeah. It's exclusive, remember?
Oh, Patreon exclusive episode.
Okay, so Jeff actually had something to say about this. Jeff,
I
Mr.
love
Smith.
that.
He said, I learned this weekend that Bone has been challenged on the basis of political viewpoint, racism, and violence. I have no idea what book these people read, said Smith. After fielding these and other charges for a while now, I'm starting to think such outrageous accusations, really racism, say more about the people who make them than about the books themselves.
Yeah.
Say that this podcast comes to a similar conclusion.
Yep.
Mm-hmm. The same year that it was on the top 10 list, it was number 10. Number 1 was another comic, Captain Underpants.
Oh, love that.
Mm.
I
I
bet
mean, that one on the basis of racism and prejudice and
Yeah.
hatred makes more sense. Just kidding. I'm on his site right now, and I'm seeing that he had a Kickstarter for a collection of comics called Thorn that is the complete Proto Bone College strips from 1982 to 1986 that he drew in
cool.
college, and a lot of it's
Whoa.
about Bone and Thorn together, and she's more just cartoonishly beautiful, and he's probably younger and dumber, but like that's the basis that
Yeah.
this whole relationship is based on.
Just her
Fascinating.
being beautiful.
Yeah, I don't know. I haven't read it, but I'm just seeing little hints and pieces of it.
That's fun. I also know that Jeff Smith recently went through all of the boxes in his parents' attic that belonged to him, and he found tons of early cartoons that he'd drawn.
Mm-hmm.
Who am I? And that were like the beginning basis of different parts of the Bone series. And so he's also auctioning a lot of that off, or that might be also part of his Patreon. But like he has like original, like first efforts of drawing these characters that he didn't know
Wow.
even existed anymore. But his mom kept everything, which is very cute.
That is
So
very cute.
fans, get in there.
So parents,
Keep everything.
keep everything your children do.
Mm-hmm.
Because they might be famous for it one day.
So you can auction it off one day.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah,
Mhm.
so they can pay for their health care with it. A very sad statement about America.
Yeah.
Yep.
All
What
right.
what are final thoughts about this series and the banning?
I'm excited to reread it again. I'm a little jealous that Eden's been reading it with Maple, but maybe I'll do
Aw.
our next child. um, but yeah, it's at first when I started the first few pages, like, oh yeah, maybe not as good as I remember, but then by the end of the first book, thought like, yeah, no, I need to keep reading.
Yeah,
This is not bad.
Yeah.
I love that.
Eden.
My motive. Oh, sorry. I'll go, and then Eden, you can tie it up beautifully.
Okay.
It made me really interested. This is bizarre, but I really just want to watch old 1930s gangster movies now. Like it felt
Yeah,
so
that
in that
Gangster
realm.
Connection was
I
not.
can't. It's not obvious.
I can see what you're talking about with the cigar and the scheming, but that was out of left field for me.
Yeah, for
But
sure. I'm a gal who watches a lot of film noirs. But I really want to watch, like, there's just so many things about our culture and our pop culture, American pop culture, that I feel like this book like draws from. That was really fun, and I want to explore all of those things a lot more now. So
Mm-hmm.
I'm jazzed, and
Mhm.
I want to finish it once these kids stop reading it at the library and give me a chance. Mother
Yeah.
of pearl.
um, yeah, I got more Western vibes than like, I mean, it's probably because they were in the desert when they started off.
Oh, like
But I'm thinking
cowboy
like
western.
cowboy
Cool.
Western, pushing open the saloon doors. Like
Oh
that's how I
yeah, that's
imagine
yeah.
Boneville. Um, but yeah, I'm excited to keep reading with Mabel. Though if she keeps trying to spoil it for me, I will be reading it by myself. And yeah, thank you, Greg, for joining us.
Yes, seriously, thank you so much. You added so much.
Yeah,
He got offended by my gangster thing, so he
he
left.
did. He
Yeah.
left. Did he just text me? Yeah, he did. He had to hop off. But thank you, everyone, for joining us, and we'll catch you next time.
Yay! Thank you so much.
Bye.
Okay. And Eden, I'm gonna download it. Oh. Who am
I forgot what our script was at the end. Burn This Book is produced by
I? Us.
us,
Nicole and Eden.
Nicole and Eden.
And the music
Music
by
was
Nicole.
done by Nicole, performed by Nicole's dad, Frank.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Bye.